Despite being poor, the townspeople were very hospitable. The neighbor invited Daniel for a dinner and cooked a delicious meal. "Did you shoot a deer recently?" Daniel asked the neighbor. "No." "Oh, really? What kind of meat is it?" "Is it veal?" The neighbor chuckled. "This veal barked yesterday in my front yard," he humored. In India, people didn't eat dogs because they liked the meat, but rather because they didn't have many options. The men of the town liked Daniel, not because he was their children teacher, but mostly because he didn't drink vodka. The food stamp that Daniel received from the government allowed him to have certain amounts of vodka, but he never drank it, and instead exchanged it for food with his neighbors. The men were happy with this arrangement, their wives, on the other hand, weren't. The houses in the town were locked all the time. The people weren't afraid of robbers, but bears. Bears often hunted around for food and didn't hesitate to eat people, if they forgot to lock their doors. The summer was short and bright, full of daylight, that lasted for weeks at a time. The snow never melted completely there, and the ocean shore was always icy. During the winter, helicopters provided a connection with the mainland, which was 200 kilometers south, in the town of Okhotsk. In the summer, trucks did the job, delivering fish to the mainland and food and supplies to Inya on their way back. However, there was no road from the mainland to Inya, because it was impossible to build it. The people mastered crossing the gulf during low tide, by getting across at an angle, using the ocean floor. They learned the high and low tide cycles, and when a low tide began, a caravan of half-full fish trucks waited at the shore. The most experienced drivers were at the head and at the end of the caravan. When the water started to reveal icy rocks underwater, the trucks followed the water down, moving around them. Water moved down for 30 kilometers during the low tide and came back in 12 hours. This was enough time for the truckers to cross the gulf. They followed the water for the first 6 hours and headed away from the water for the following 6 hours. During the journey, they sometimes lost a truck that slipped into the water. The truckers already knew that when a truck started to slide down, it was going to sink. They didn't even try to save it. They stopped the caravan, unloaded the truck that was already captured by the water, loaded all the goods from it into the other trucks, and let it go. This was the reason they loaded the trucks only halfway. Then, the caravan caught up with the water and continued on its dangerous journey. Leah traveled with them to the mainland because she had to report to the government as the head accountant. She was scared the first time, but then used to these exotic journeys and took the truck like a local bus. 3 years went by, but Daniel and Leah still lived in Inya. They couldn't save enough money. The government changed the rules, the compensation rate decreased by 30%. Leah got pregnant with the second child. They wished they could leave and have the baby in a warmer climate, but they couldn't. Therefore, only in 5 years, Daniel and Leah were finally able to collect enough money and move to the Ukraine. Millions of stars blinked in the dark night sky that covered Moscow, as Leah, Daniel, and 3 children arrived on a train from Birobidzhan. The train made a long stop, letting passengers off, and then headed south to Kharkov, Ukraine, the city of Leah's youth. Leah was resting on an upper bench of a compartment, the same as 10 years ago, when she traveled east. Only now, she was traveling back home, and she was not alone on the bench. She was snuggling a 9-month-old baby boy that was sucking on her nipple. The rhythmic thud of the train hitting the rails and flashing trees on the other side of the window brought back so many memories of the last 10 years. So much had happened since then. It didn't feel like that long ago, but on second thought, it seemed more like an eternity. She glanced on the lower bench to check on her older children. Bella and Velvel were sleeping, hugging each other. Thank God, they are quiet, she thought. Ow! She almost screamed, as her baby boy accidentally bit her nipple hard, falling asleep. Leah bore the pain, and smiled at him. So, are you quiet or what? She silently moved her lips. You are my handsome boy. Do you know how you wear me out today? Huh? No, you don't. No, you don't. She cuddled her baby gently, with love and care, twining a lock of his hair around her finger with a familiar movement. Now, you have all the time in the world to suck on my nipple for as long as you want. Suck it, until your daddy doesn't see you. Enjoy, my precious. Leah fearfully glanced at her husband, who was sleeping on the upper bench across the compartment. Thank God he is sleeping and I don't have to have sex with him. He has no sense of protection, and God forbid I got pregnant again. He is always so demanding. I don't know what those books are saying about a baby schedule, but it's such a pleasure to feed him. Why do they write all these books? To deprive us from the pleasure? This is ridiculous. Well, he knows better. He has a degree. And I'm nobody. Yes. Yes. My darling. Your daddy has a degree. And he doesn't allow you to suck for too long. Stupid rules. But I know better, I'm a mother. Leah put her baby next to her with care, not removing her nipple from his mouth, and positioned herself comfortably, giving him enough space on the bench. In vain, I complain. I wouldn't want to be in Anita's shoes. I feel so bad for her. She has no man to take care of her, and no son to comfort her. Regardless of how difficult my husband is, he takes care of me. I don't know how she gave away her son. Well, yes. She did it for his benefit. Did she? I don't know. She wouldn't give him the same kind of education, but I would never give away my child, regardless. Poor Velvel. Daniel beats him so hard. And now he started to beat Bella. He said that this is the only way to make children learn. Is it? I don't know. Oh. My dear children. But what choice do I have? I can't give them the same knowledge as Daniel does. Thank God they have a father. Thanks to him, we have so many books, and lots of interesting stuff. He is very strict and vicious, but he wants them to be smart and successful. I lived without a father, and nothing interesting happened in my life. My mom didn't have time for us, she always worked. I don't have a degree. I'm a very lucky woman to marry an educated man, not some kind of drunk that would spend all the money on vodka, beating me and kids every day. All families that I know are like this. So, why do I complain? I have a very good life. I don't work on Sundays and have time to spend with my kids. I shouldn't complain. I'm a very lucky woman, especially considering my sickness. If only Daniel knew what I do every time after we have sex, he would beat me to death or kick me out of the house. He would call me a prostitute or a slut. God forbid that Bella gets this sickness from me. Or maybe she'll be smarter than I am, and read about it in books. Leah glanced at the window. This land shaft looks so alien to me. It's so dark. I was already used to the white color of never-melted snow. I can't believe that I'm back in a warm climate. It's so good we are going to Ukraine. The children don't even know the taste of an apple. All they ate was fish, fish, and fish. Yes, they ate jam that my mom sent to us, but a fresh apple is not the same. No wonder they get sick so very often. My poor children. Velvel is not my child, but I feel like he is. It's so strange. God forbid Anita wants him back. I'll be devastated. I think I'm a good mother to him even though he never calls me mommy. He is such a good boy. He helps me a lot, and he loves Bella, and I think he loves me too. He never tells me this, but he always seeks my comfort, especially when Daniel beats him up. I feel so bad for him. Poor boy. And I can't even protect him. Daniel always tells me that he is not my son and that he knows better how to raise him. But I love him the same as I love Bella. Mom, I want to pee. Bella called from the lower bench. Leah looked down as Bella was getting off the bench, trying not to disturb Velvel. Okay, just a second. The baby was sleeping, and not sucking anymore. Leah carefully removed her nipple from his mouth and buttoned her blouse. So, your feast is over today. My precious. He jumped down, then took her baby boy and placed him next to Velvel. Velvel. She whispered, touching his shoulder. Velvel, could you wake up for just a few minutes, please? The boy opened his eyes. What? Please, watch over the baby. I'll take Bella to the bathroom. Okay, Leah. He put his hand around his baby brother and closed his eyes again. Leah and Bella came back in a few minutes. Bella lay next to Velvel, rolled over, turning her back to him, and he embraced her into his arms. Leah took the baby, climbed back on the upper bench, and put him next to her on the pillow. She glanced at her husband. Good thing he is still sleeping, she thought with relief. He should wake up soon. I'd better pretend to be sleeping, so that he doesn't bother me. She closed her eyes. It's going to be better. I know it in my heart. I'm a very lucky woman. I got a very educated man. No kidding. With a college degree. He loves me, and never beats me up. He hit me just one time, made a hole in my skull with a bottle. That was scary. That was terrible. Oh, how much I hated him, and how much I was afraid of him. Well, I'm afraid of him always. I guess I deserved it. Who buys perfume when there is so little money in a family? I was a fool. I felt like a princess. So, he taught me a lesson. He could just talk to me, or maybe slap me, but he broke my skull, on my birthday. A tear rolled down Leah's cheek. My mom always gave me a present on my birthday. And she didn't have a husband, and didn't make too much money. She never gave me a bottle of perfume, but always something. He's never given me a present on my birthday, so I bought myself a birthday present. I don't spend money all the time. I guess it's only in a movie a man gives some presents. In real life, there is no such thing. I don't even know what it will be like in Kharkov. There are so many single women and widows. I'm wondering how Boris will be. God forbid I meet him. I can't imagine how I would face him. He kissed me. A smile ran across Leah's face. It was just one kiss. No, I don't want to meet him. I don't want him to see my limp leg. I'm definitely a lucky woman that I limp just a little after. Leah shut her eyes tight and startled as a memory of terror crossed her mind. A sled, pulled by a pack of hungry dogs, lunged toward her. She was on the roadside, which was surrounded by snowdrifts like mountains. She ran as fast as she could. The sled was right behind her, and she felt like those dogs were breathed into her ear. The man on the sled was yelling something, probably trying to stop the dogs, but Leah didn't understand what he yelled. Suddenly, somebody pushed her from the side into the snow with enormous force. She sunk into the snowdrifts, and a sharp pain in her leg made her scream. The sled flew by like a comet. You can consider yourself being born a second time. The man that saved her life pulled Leah by her coat, trying to help her to get up, but she screamed again. She couldn't get up, her right foot was broken. Leah took a deep breath. Thank God those dogs didn't tear me apart. What a nightmare. No wonder the government pays twice as much salary there as in all other places. She lifted her head and looked at her legs. Thank God that I still have it. The doctor was about to cut it off. She covered her leg with the blanket. Well, they tricked us anyway. They promised to pay 3 times as much, but paid only 2 times as much. Hopefully it will be enough to buy a house. We don't need a big one, I would live in a very small one. After I lived in a barrack for 10 years, any kind of house in Ukraine would be a paradise for me. Leah pushed her pillows up against the head wall and turned her half-closed eyes in the baby boy's direction. When you grow up, you won't believe what kind of life we lived there. Nobody will believe it. Who would believe that a snowstorm covered our entire village so high that even chimneys were under the snow? You could only read these kind of stories and tales for small children. Only a tale would send us some kind of snow fairy, and she would swing her wand and all the people would be saved. But in real life, my precious baby, we dug ourselves out the entire week. And how would I tell you a story about me riding through the ocean on an ocean floor? It's a fascinating story, and I better make it pretty for you. I'll tell you this. Once upon a time, there was a girl. She was beautiful and lived a happy life. Her cheeks were as orange as a peach, her lips as red as a rose, and her eyes as blue as a sky. A jealous witch couldn't tolerate it. She swung her wand and the girl found herself on a faraway island. This island was covered with snow all year around, and because of that, there were no roses or peach trees there. The only food people ate there was fish that they caught in the ocean. Soon, the girl's cheeks, lips, and eyes turned pale, like the snow. Once, a fairy visited the frozen island. She was very upset to see the poor girl. The fairy was not able to free the girl from the witch's spell, but she could help. She swung her wand, and the ocean water resigned. "I can keep the water off for only 12 hours, she said. "So you can go to the mainland and bring some fruits and vegetables from there to the island. But remember, you have to come back on time, because if you don't, you will never be able to reach the mainland again." People were so happy. They rode trucks to the mainland across the ocean floor, while the fairy kept the water away. They loaded trucks with fruits and vegetables and rode back just on time. As soon as they reached their island, the water closed the path they traveled on. Leah smiled to herself. "I have to be a storyteller. It's a nice way to retell my adventures in the Pacific Ocean." And we lived there for 10 years only. Other people live there their entire lives, delivering fish to the mainland, riding on the ocean floor. My God! There are so many trucks slide to the ocean. No wonder caviar is so expansive in Ukraine. Ukraine. What a word. It sounds so exotic. Time flies so fast. 10 years. But it feels like I left only yesterday. I only pray that Mom and Daniel get along with each other. He is such a difficult person. It's worthless trying to prove anything to him. Any argument only drains my energy, and he does what he thinks is right anyway. Well, it's a good thing that I do have a husband. A lot of women would be blessed to have a husband like him. Would they? Am I blessed? I probably am, only I don't understand what blessing is all about. What is so good about being married? I can't even ask this question to anybody, because my friends are not married. They would never understand me. I miss them so much. What a wonderful time it was when we went to watch a show together. How is our theater? Ah. The ballet was spectacular. The actors were so elegant. The tips of their toes touched the ground as their legs circled the stage floor with poise. They danced around the stage gracefully as their dresses swirled around their legs. They were so glamorous. Dancing and dancing. Leah was sleeping. Leah and Daniel bought a 3-room townhouse that had a small garden with fruit trees. Their hard work had finally paid off, and their dreams finally came true. It looked like life had turned out for the better, but they were still fairly unhappy. Their new neighbors made them feel as strangers. On the very first day, Bella went outside to play with a girl of the same age, and in a couple of minutes came back in tears. "Mommy, this girl doesn't want to play with me." "Why not, baby? Did you do something wrong?" "No, I didn't. She just made fun of me, calling me a dirty Jew." I told her that I'm not dirty, but she still called me this, and her daddy came outside and said, "Do not play with this Jew. I'm going to beat her up." Belleville shouted and ran to the door, but Leah stopped him. She was stunned. For 10 long years in the Far East, she'd forgotten the consequences of being a Jew. It happened to her before, when she was a little girl, but it didn't hurt her then as much as now. "Mommy, what is a Jew?" Bella asked. Leah looked at her 8-year-old daughter, not knowing how to explain it to her. "Jew is your nationality, Bella." "What is nationality, Mommy?" "Nationality is belonging to a certain group of people. There are a lot of different nationalities. They celebrate different holidays, speak different languages, and sing different songs. We belong to a nationality that is called Jewish." "Mommy, but we speak Russian and we celebrate all the same holidays." "Yes, I know baby, but during some holidays we sing our own songs." "Do you remember the songs that we sing?" "I don't understand any of the words in these songs, Mommy. I'm not a Jew. I don't want to be a Jew, I want children to play with me." Bella looked at her mother's face, but didn't find any assurance. Why don't they like our songs, Mommy? I like them a lot, especially when Daddy is singing them. Yes, I know, baby. Leah replied, and hugged her daughter tight. Leah went to an employment agency, searching for a job, and got the address of the company that was looking for an accountant. She was confident that, with her qualifications, she would be welcomed at any place, so she went for an interview, and the lady who interviewed her was thrilled to see Leah's credentials. It was so difficult to find a good experienced accountant. Great! That's just wonderful. I'm so glad you visited us first. Can you start tomorrow? Yes. Leah was excited. However, the next morning, she was stopped at the gate of that company. I'm the new accountant. Today is my first day, she happily announced. This position is already filled, the security guard blankly said. Yes, I know. I'm hired for this position. Today is my first day. Leah still didn't get it, and was attempting to get through the gate. The guard didn't move. The position has been filled by someone else, not by you. Leah couldn't believe what was happening. She couldn't find the words to argue, and instead, just left. She went back to the employment agency. Yes, they called me this morning, the agent confirmed, avoiding making eye contact. They said that the position was already taken. Would you please send me to another place where positions are not filled this quickly? Leah sarcastically asked. Yes, sure. Try this. She gave Leah another address. Leah ran into the same scenario over and over again, nothing worked. Though she didn't give up, and continued knocking on different doors. At one company, a Jewish man interviewed Leah. He was happy to finally find somebody who was so clever, experienced, and beautiful as well. You can start tomorrow, he said, and was surprised that she didn't smile at him. Leah had heard this already so many times that it started to irritate her. She looked straight into his eyes and said, I'm Jewish. Then, she added, after an awkward pause, do I still have to start tomorrow? I'm so sorry, Leah, I can't hire you even as a cleaner. How do you get into this company then? She was almost screaming. I'm not 100% Jewish, I'm half Ukrainian, he said in an apologetic tone. I don't understand. There are so many Jews live in this city. They work somewhere, somehow. How do they get hired? Do you know? I guess that every one of them is just a lucky person. Or maybe they know some secret. You've got to ask around. Good luck to you, Leah. Then, the man left the room. Leah followed his advice and asked around. She learned a very simple and effective way to get lucky. However, this way was not that innocent. Usually people got away with it, but it was always risky if they got caught. In about 6 months, Leah finally found a job after she bribed the director of the city hospital. To her surprise, she was well received, and soon she forgot about her hassles regarding the job search. Daniel, on the other hand, didn't have any problems finding a job. There were not that many math and physics teachers in the city, and that explained it. He worked in a school that was a part of the tuberculosis hospital. This job was not safe because Daniel was at risk of being infected by sick children, but he was paid additional money for this. Also, he hoped that if he worked among doctors, they might help him with his sleep disorder, and thought it was worth the risk. However, he was soon disappointed. The school conducted a lot of meetings and teachers-doctors conferences, and attendance was mandatory. Daniel complied, but was not able to be awake for too long, and soon he found himself surrounded by mocking sarcasm and ignorance. To his extreme frustration, these doctors made fun of him the same way as all others. He was about to look for another job in a regular school, but suddenly got new friends. It was a Jewish secret organization that introduced innovative ideas about Judaism and the new country of Israel, which was recently formed for all Jews. They provided Daniel with information that was prohibited in the Soviet country. The Soviet government blocked all foreign radio stations, while foreign magazines and newspapers were also not available, and people avoided this subject. Therefore, even though Daniel read a lot, he never had an opportunity to know about Israel, but he knew now. He felt very lucky to have new friends, to have an opportunity to learn the language of his ancestors, Hebrew, and to realize that he lived in a foreign country and that he had a country where nobody would accuse him of being Jewish.